Now, if you're wondering why we're cranking Bone Thugs, Jeff and I were brainstorming what music we needed to bring London Fletcher in, and we thought
something from
Cleveland.
Ohio, baby.
London, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I will say this. This is the first time I've ever been brought into the Thuggish Rugged Bone, but I like it, man. That takes me back to my roots.
That's the way you play ball, dog.
I thought you'd like it, man.
Oh, yeah. I play golf like that, too, sometimes, B. You know.
Well, I know you don't stop talking the whole damn round.
Unfortunately, I know, yeah.
And if you come out on the right side, you don't stop talking till you sip again.
I'm going to talk what I lose or win, so that's the thing.
So, Fletch, let's talk about – it's been a really busy couple days now for Washington, going back to kind of the first trade for Deebo, then the trade for Tunsil, some subsequent moves. Let's start with Deebo. What do you think of that move? What do you think he brings to Washington?
Yeah, I really like the move of adding Deebo. You look at our offense from a year ago and you say, hey, what do we need? We needed more playmakers, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Was always constantly looking for a true, consistent number 2 receiver. But I think with Deebo, he's more than just a receiver. You saw how San Francisco utilized him, doing different things, using him as a running back at times. Obviously, as a receiver outside, he can play the slide. You can do jet sweeps with him. He's a playmaker, and you just want to get the ball into his hands. You want to have more weapons, more playmakers at the disposal of Jaden Daniels, and let's see what this offense can do. You also will look at another guy that defenses have to pay attention to. You can't just say, hey, we're going to roll coverage over Terry and not really worry about the other guys, force them to beat us. That's a guy that you have to truly game plan for from a defensive standpoint. And he brings some toughness to the football team.
Yep.
That physicality, that toughness, his mindset, it cannot be overstated. When you want to be a physical football team, you need to have physical type of guys. And it's rare that you have receivers that bring that physicality. He's one of the most physical players in the National Football League.
I'm wearing flannels all year, Fletch. Big Deebo.
Yeah.
Hey, look, but so I'm supposed to be doing this thing with Maddie on Monday, and she was asking me to let her know what I thought were my favorite moves, and I went straight to Bobby Wagner coming back because I understand it's a 1-year deal. But did you look at the impact he had on not just the defense last year, both sides of the ball, the whole team, the coaches, everything, the importance of bringing him back because he could teach guys 1 more year and then this thing is ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about the season last year when they went through the losing streak. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 games. I can't remember how many games it was. But it was Bobby, as you remember, when he addressed the media after one of the losses, and he was like, hey, we're going to turn this thing around. And sure enough, he was not just an excellent player from on the football team, but the presence, the leadership, the sounding voice, the guy who kept guys focused and understand the task at hand, that you're going to have some ebbs and flows, some highs and lows that take place during the season. So re-signing him was a major importance from my standpoint as well. I thought it was a no-brainer. I didn't think there was any way that they would let him out of the building and not bring him back because of the productivity on the football field, but also what he brought to the locker room, in the meeting room, and also just his presence and his winning pedigree.
Yeah, I'm with you, Fletch. I thought Ertz and Bobby were definitely coming back. Sure enough, they end up coming back. And I remember, I want to say it was after the Cowboys lost at home, that 3rd straight loss, and nobody really knocked them for losing to the Steelers or the Eagles. But it was then the loss to Dallas at home. People are like, oh, my God, what's happening? The sky is falling. And he was just like, this is football. These are long seasons. And I wonder, I mean, for both of you guys that played in the league a long time, how important is it for young guys, maybe even a guy like Jaden Daniels that seems totally unflappable, but to hear that in that moment from within your locker room?
It's extremely important because, especially when you look at the season, and at one point the team was riding on a high and everybody's patting them on the back, and then you go through that 3-game losing streak and the criticism all of a sudden starts to come in. and the national media, the local media. They're saying, all right, well, this is the team that we thought they would be coming into the season. And for these young guys who don't understand that this is a long season and you're going to have those ebbs and flows, highs and lows, you have to be able to focus week in and week out, day in and day out, regardless of how the season's going, whether you're on a 5-game winning streak or a 3-game losing streak. You have to come in there with the same mindset each and every week, ready to work, not let the outside noise, whether it's good or bad, determine how you're going to play, determine how you're going to approach your craft. So having a guy like Bobby, having a Zach Ertz, some guys who have been to the mountaintop, who have experienced winning the Super Bowl, having those type of guys. Because one thing to hear from a coach, but when you have a teammate and guys in that locker room, well-respected guys in that locker room, that can constantly emphasize that message, it goes a long way.
But they seem to be getting bigger defensive tackles. I'm talking about guys 6'5", 320, things like that, 330, 6'3", 330. How important is that, the size, but also the ability for guys to protect linebackers?
It's important, but also, scheme. That depends on the scheme, I would say. Mm-hmm. From the standpoint of, are you asking your defensive lineman to eat blocks, so to speak, or are you asking them to be better penetrators? I will say this: you have to have defensive linemen that the offensive line and the offensive coaches respect and feel like, hey, we have to get this guy blocked. If we don't get him blocked, he's going to game wreck. You think about the Philadelphia Eagles and a guy like Jalen Carter, and also Milton Williams, who's no longer there. Those guys were game wreckers for the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Kansas City Chiefs knew that. We knew that, and how much they created havoc on our offense. But just from the standpoint, when you look at what was the real weak links of this defense of a year ago, stopping the run.
Yeah,
we love the sacks and we love getting interceptions, but it's hard to rush the passer in 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. You ain't pinning your ear back to rush the quarterback. You got to get them in some 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8 pluses in order to be able to rush the quarterback. And how do you do that? You have to be able to stop the run, and we just weren't stout enough in the trenches, especially in the interior defensive line. There were times where we allowed too much penetration, especially if it was a double team block, things like that, where quite frankly the defensive tackles at times were in the linebacker's lap, and I don't give a damn who you got back there, who you got playing linebacker. It's hard to make a tackle with an offensive lineman in your lap, and a defensive lineman in your lap. And it's not a knock on anybody. It's just, hey, they understood it. That's why they went out and they addressed it. So I'm not saying anything that they didn't see. And when you look at who are we competing against, first and foremost, we're competing with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Definitely.
They have a massive offensive line. Saquon Barkley is a problem. He's problem number one. You cannot achieve your goal as a team, as a defense, allowing, I think we were 30th, 31st, whatever we were, stopping a run. That lower bottom third, probably bottom 5 in the league and stopping a run. You cannot, that's not sustainable. We have to get better at stopping a run so we can earn the right to rush the passer, which will allow us to get off the field, to create more turnovers, to get the ball back to Jaden and that offense.
Absolutely. I'm curious specifically on Javon Kinlaw, what you think of his game and how he helps them. There's talk of him maybe even kind of playing the edge more in Washington with that size would be pretty remarkable.
I love the size, 6'5". I really liked him when he came out of college. Just studying him when he came out of college. I was working for CBS Sports back then, and we were doing like mock stuff. And he looked at him. Adam Peters knows him. Daryl Tapp knows him. Daryl Tapp was a defensive line coach, so they have intimate knowledge of him. And the thing that kills me, man, you hear our fan base and critics saying, "Hey, we spent too much money over him." These guys know what they're doing. They ain't pay him $15 million a year because they were bidding against themselves. They paid him $15 million a year because that's what they had to pay him. Trust me, that somebody else is going to pay him some money. And these teams talk, and these organizations talk. I think back to when I was a free agent and came to Washington, and Joe Gibbs and Detroit Lions were recruiting me, and also Washington, and my agent was negotiating with Washington, and Coach Gibbs called Detroit with Matt Millen at that time. I think he was your former teammate, and say, "Hey, are you gonna pay London?" And Matt Millen said, "Hell yeah, we're gonna pay London." So they talk. These organizations talk.
Yeah.
They got friends on different staff, so they didn't pay him $15 million per year out of the talents that they hired. They had paid him that type of money because that's what they had to pay him, and he's gonna be a good football player for him. Another size, heavy-handed guy can provide some pass rush in the interior. But you look at where we struggled last season. It was in the interior, stopping the run. You got a guy who can do that, but also provide some pass rush as well.
Yep,
I'm with you.
I'm glad you said it, though. Coaches, like people, it's more talking, and the thing about it is this: the GMs and all have more information than we have. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have done that. Well, they know what they have to pay. We are assuming they know.
I totally agree.
Exactly. And correct me if I'm not wrong. Didn't Adam Peters put together a roster that got us to the NFC Championship a year ago?
Yeah.
I think the guy knows what he's doing. Him and his staff, they know what they're doing, man. It has just amazed me. You're going to trust him on one thing, but then, he overpaid for Larry Tunsil. You're not getting a damn left tackle a starting left tackle of his caliber without paying for it. Unless it's a Trent Williams type of situation, that just does not happen. You got to pay for talent. Talent costs, and having that blind side of Jaden Daniels shored up and being able to say, hey, we got a left tackle that's going to we don't have to worry about it, and that allows them to move Brandon Coleman wherever he's going to be. I think he'll be an outstanding guard if he ends up there. That's going to make us a lot better football team.
Yep.
I think with Tunsil, that move is so significant, but we live in a world where people kind of only pay attention to skill positions. The Tunsil, how much do you think that impacts the entire offensive line? You're probably moving Coleman to right tackle. Wiley's probably your day one right guard while Cosme recovers from the knee injury. I mean, how much better as a group is that, especially once Cosme comes back?
I think it's significantly better. And, I think by adding Tunsil, you added two starters to the offensive line. Now you have the flexibility of whether you want to put Brandon Coleman at right guard, you want to have him at right tackle. Right guard, right tackle, or left guard. Biotis, he's solid at the center. Nick Allegretti, what do you do with him? So they have versatility. I'm gonna trust them to they have a plan of where they want those guys to go. And once Sam comes back, you'll have another guy. You can never have too many offensive linemen.
Not at all.
The depth of that unit, because guys get hurt, they get banged up. You got Wiley, who can play guard, who can play tackle. So it just creates a lot more flexibility, a lot more depth. But I think ultimately, if they end up putting Coleman at a guard and left guard, and maybe Allegretti can play right guard. I think he was a swing guy when he's with the Chiefs.
Yep.
That just makes that offensive line so much better until Sam Cosme comes back.
I say get the best five on the field.
Wiley, Allegretti, and even Coleman. Now, Coleman's was at the college level, but they have a lot of versatility depending what you need. And over the course of 17 games, man, there's going to be nights where there's going to be days where, oh man, that lineman can't go today. Luckily, we can move this dude here and then plug this guy in there. The two other guys,
and you put more, you get more size in the interior. And I'm just assuming if Coleman ends up in a guard position, you get bigger in the interior.
Yep. Two other dudes I wanted to ask you about. Will Harris, they signed yesterday. What's remarkable about fans is 2 years ago, everybody freaked out when they lost Curl. Nobody was excited about Chin. 1 year later, everybody's freaked out. They lose Chin. Now they've signed Will Harris. I remember the Saints game we all went down and worked in December. He had a couple licks in that game on Commanders wideouts. What do you think of Harris, Fletch?
I don't know a ton about him, but I've obviously seen some of his hits that have been circulating through the internet since we signed him. You got him for half the cost of what Jeremy Chin would have cost him, and a guy who he's played corner, he's played safety, he's played the slot, he's He brings he's been in the box at times, so another guy who can do a lot of different things. They understand the role that they want that position to play, and they feel like Will Harris is a guy that can do that for them. So, you know, they know what they're doing again. This free agent, look at the free agents they signed a year ago. Jeremy Chin being one of them. Frankie Louvu, who came out and played outstanding. You know, not household names, so to speak, to a lot of different people. But these coaches, they know what they're doing. The front office people, they know what they're doing. So I'm gonna trust them, and I'm excited to see these guys take the grass when the time comes.
The last one for me, because this is a different body style than they have had. Eddie Goldman is just a house of a dude. Goldman he only played probably like 35% of the snaps last year for Atlanta, but was healthy in all 17 games. What do you think bringing in a guy with true like nose tackle size does? Maybe it's short yardage. I don't know how they plan on deploying him, but that one caught my eye.
JP, what do you mean how they plan on this deploying? He's going to be a run stopper.
I thought he might be a kick returner.
We struggle stopping the run. He's a zero. He probably can play some one, and maybe if he has to play some three, depending on like the offensive line. I mean the tight end shifting from one side to another side. But he's a run stopper. He's a guy more than anything. He has size, and he's going to be stout in the middle of that defense. You cannot allow teams to just run the ball at will against you. So that was one of the issues. They identified that. That's why he was a guy that they signed in free agency.
There you go. Hey, London, I'm guessing you just got to the golf course. I hear your car door opening, so we'll let you go. It's 80 degrees in Charlotte. Oh, man.
We got about 70, 68, 70.
Today's kind of cold. We've gotten there this week, though.
Yeah.
Enjoy, man. Hit them straight. Thank you for making time for us.
All right, Fletch. Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, bro.
That's our guy, London Fletcher. You can follow him at LFletcher59, one of the greats for the Burgundy and Gold at the linebacker position. Appreciate his time.